BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast with me, Charlotte Smith. In this episode, American farmers and Trump's trade tariffs.
The successful farmers will always do something different to get ahead. We're fighters. We are willing to try something different, but it better show results. With these tariffs, I think we need to be seeing something in 18 months or less. If there isn't results, what are we going to do? We're going to vote him out of office.
More from Iowa later. First, all this week we are looking at farmland birds. And as we've heard already, some species are in decline while others are doing better. Well, keeping an ear on what is where is becoming easier with the use of AI. Sarah Falkingham has been to a farm estate in Lincolnshire where they're using bioacoustics and AI to analyse birdsong as a way of measuring changes to biodiversity in a consistent way.
I've come to a farm near Lincoln. It's a wide open landscape here with woods and hedgerows, and 8 bird sensors have been placed here since May to capture bird calls 24/7 at regular intervals and to get a real picture of what's living here and also to track changes. And I'm just going to get into a truck now to go down to one of the sensors.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carse. I'm the CEO and founder of Wilder Sensing.
And this is your box on a fencing post here. Just describe then what it looks like.
It's a small green box, about the size of a smartphone, a bit thicker, with an external microphone, very robust. And you can see inside the 6 lithium-ion batteries, which will last a couple of months. An SD card inside as well. It's recording now. Just listening to the whole landscape. And then Ed, one of the guys, picks it up every 2 or 3 weeks to upload it to the audio files to our website.
And at this point, we're just going to hear what it sounds like at dawn from this microphone.
We could be generating hundreds or thousands of records. It takes us about 30 seconds to analyse a 1-hour file, and we can be processing many thousands of files every hour.
And how does the AI work?
It analyses a sound file every 3 seconds to say what, if anything's made a sound in that 3-second clip. And it'll say if it was likely to be a robin, it'd say 85% it was likely to be a robin or a blackbird or a black-tailed godwit or whatever it might be. Ed
Ford, on this farm you already have birds being caught and ringed, and you have an ecologist that comes twice a year for the last 7 years to do a spot check, and that's a good snapshot. What does this give you that those checks don't give you?
So it gives us the consistency in data. Being able to record 24/7 allows us over time to build up trends a lot easier and a lot quicker to understand what we're doing, how we are affecting the environment through management practices, through the sustainable farming incentives that we put down. And then the knock-on to that as well is that the data we're capturing alongside with water, pollinators, carbon, is that there is the ability there for having valuable data that we could incentivise and gain a premium for a lot of our products. Over the time that we've had these devices in, since April, that we've had over 139 individual species identified. Farmers get a lot of bad press environmentally. This for us is one way that we could use the data to show that actually what we're doing on farm is doing some benefit.
So you need a baseline to start from so you know what you've got.
Yep.
And then Jeff Carse, with the technology, can you tell changes? Have you seen with these sensors used in other places what changes are happening to bird life?
Absolutely. We've, in fact, one of my colleagues did her MSc on exactly that on a farm in Somerset, and this particular site was lowland peat being re-wetted, changing the stocking levels, and they're able to show spring versus spring and winter over winter. The assemblage was changing really quite quickly, moving much more to wading bird species. Sniper returning, but some of the farmland birds were moving off the site. So you're seeing this quite quick transition of the bird assemblage.
Jeff Carse and Ed Ford in Lincolnshire there. Now, to the future generation of British trees. Woodland creation is one of the most important ways of helping us meet our climate change targets, and that starts with seeds. But they are not always easily available. Sometimes British supply is short or not up to scratch, leading to a reliance on less genetically appropriate imports, which also carry a risk of pests and diseases. Well, to solve that problem, the domestic production of seeds is being expanded at Forestry England's new tree seed processing Processing Centre in Cheshire. The centre has just undergone a major upgrade and is now a state-of-the-art facility. It'll be using technology like 3D laser imaging and 3D X-ray scanners, a first in international forestry. The aim is to help create climate-resilient forests for the future. Well, the centre is due to be opened later today, but Kaz Graham snuck in first for a quick look round.
So in here, we're running at about -3 constantly. This is where we store long-term the forest seed that we're going to use to replace forest and woodland creation.
I'm with Jonathan Barton, who is a seed technician here. And we're surrounded by these metal tins. Look a bit like something like tea tins.
They do. They'll hold about 10 kilos each. And if we pop one open for you now, you can see that inside, not only is it labelled on the outside, it's labelled on the inside for prosperity, so we can always identify exactly where this seed came from. So if we're talking about Scots pine, we've personally got 5 orchards that we're collecting seed from each year. And then we can expect to get between 40 and 50,000 trees per kilo from what this seed in front of you now. Let's take some out now. All of this is completely cleaned up. We've had it germination tested and purity tested so that we can supply this to the nursery and tell them what to expect when they try to grow it.
Well, also with us this morning is Sean Hinkston, who's the Senior Operations Manager here. Sean, can you explain exactly what happens here? What do you do in this place?
In this newly developed facility, we process all the seeds, over 13 species from Forestry England's lands, over a network of 12 orchards and 29 seed stands.
And we're standing in your new state-of-the-art, purpose-built seed processing centre.
Yeah.
Why is this place a game changer for you?
Because it was an opportunity to revitalise all our machinery. There was no room to expand in our old facility. We needed to make it more future-proof to make sure that we were able to extract the seed from this important resource. The new machinery, being able to get the most modern extraction machinery that we can possibly get, means that we can ensure the quality and also the longevity of that supply.
Can we go and take a look?
Yeah, sure we can.
This is a seed sizer, so we've got 4 sieves set up on a vibrating plate. So think of a waterfall. As the seed gets dropped on top, we've got a very fine sieve here taking away dust and small particles. Then we'll send it over a large sieve. That'll take out really big pieces. And then on the 3rd level, we're actually looking to collect the seed.
And we can see these coming down here now. They're coming down a big yellow chute, dropping into a bin. My microphone is completely covered in seed now. Jonathan, let's just step away from the noise of this machine. How does this enable you to get the best seeds?
We're using this particular equipment because we're working more really at an industrial scale. We really do need to process an awful lot of material. We're getting tons of cones arriving through the season. We're really trying to bring down the moisture to get it to a safe level so that we can store it and freeze it and make it available for the future.
So this is the wild cherry seed, Prunus avium. This has been collected from region 403.
And they're seeds about the size of chickpeas and about the same colour as well. And we can really smell the kind of loam that they're in at the moment. I'm with Imam Syed, who is the head of plant and seed supply here. Imam, what are the qualities that you're looking for in the next generation of seeds?
When it comes to conifers, we focus on timber quality. Climate change is one of the biggest challenges, and because of climate change, there's more outbreaks of pests and diseases in this country. We cannot breed everything tolerant for all the pests and diseases, what we call the unknowns. However, we can give it a good shot whereby we should be able to produce good breeding stock, which should give us healthy plants, which would be fit for future. We got a thing called Spaces of the Future, Forestry England are working on. So we've got around 62 species. It's a long-term project. So if I start now, the next generation of tree breeders and seed technicians will benefit from that work which we're doing now. It will be another 30 to 35 years. So it's a long-term business.
Imam Syed at the Forestry England Seed Processing Centre. Right, let's talk tariffs. We've discussed the impact of President Trump's trade policy on producers here in the UK. Now let's turn our attention to American farmers who are being hit by retaliatory tariffs imposed on American products by countries around the world. The American Soybean Association says that exports to China have practically halted after China imposed an extra 20% tariff in response to American tariffs on Chinese goods. China is instead importing soya from South America because it's cheaper, just as it did during President Trump's first trade war in 2018. Low prices for US corn and soybean, combined with rising costs, are already placing pressure on farm incomes. And with record high yields predicted for the upcoming harvest, some forecasters are warning of an oversupply of crops without a customer, potentially adding further downward pressure on US grain prices. President Trump has made much of his support for farmers. Anna Jones went to the Iowa State Fair to see how their support for him is holding up, and started by asking Iowa agricultural journalist Gil Gillickson for his assessment of the Trump trade policy gamble.
When tariffs were put on in 2018, China just went to Brazil and bought their soybeans. So there's always the impact in some industries that they just might go elsewhere to buy their products and not the United States. And I do know that happened with soybeans, and that's a very big concern right now among soybean farmers.
What about corn?
One thing that does help that is there's a huge domestic market in ethanol. A lot of corn is used for that, but even ethanol is exported. A lot of people say he's just using it as a bargaining chip, as a bluff, which may be true. But I can say history proves that tariffs don't end well.
I mean, the whole bluff strategy has a bit of a shelf life because we start to get into the taco analogy. Trump always chickens out.
Well, that could play into it. I know it really rubs our president the wrong way. There's always the story about the boy who cried wolf. You know, if you do it too many times in anything, the effect may lessen.
How much time do you think Trump has got to prove himself to farmers before he loses their faith?
I would say right now there's still strong support, but if our trade policy does not turn around, I think it's going to hurt him. But I don't think it's not going to be anytime soon.
He does not put up with fluff. He does not put up with things that are not going to achieve any result. John Maxwell, we have a very diversified farm and a large tour operation where we tell the story of agriculture. Yes, he's got tariffs on and the prices go down because of the tariffs, because we think the tariffs eventually will make us great again and be fair again. And if you look in detail, we were giving China a lot and then we paid tariffs when we sold to them. Let's make it fair. What's good for the goose is good for the other goose.
Glenn Rao, we're a rancher from the southern Iowa where we raise cow-calf operation.
I'm Bev Rao, and we have a beef cattle farm. We raise baby calves and put them in a feedlot and feed the world the meat.
What are your perceptions of President Trump?
What do we think of him? Well, I think he's a doer, he's a businessman, and that's a lot better than having a politician in there.
So you're okay with the tariffs?
I think generally agriculture is okay with Trump.
Joan Maxwell, Davenport, Iowa, dairy farmer, cheese producer, and advocate for agriculture. Farmers are risk takers. Farmers, the successful farmers will always do something different to get ahead. We're fighters. We are willing to try something different, but it better show results. If we don't show results, just like every good business person, you pivot, you do something else. So we're giving him the chance to follow through with the tariffs, but there better be some results. If there isn't results, what are we going to do? We're going to vote him out of office.
And what's your timeline for results?
With these tariffs, I think we need to be seeing something in 18 months or less, and it better pay off.
And you can hear more from the Iowa State Fair and rural America's perceptions of President Trump in the next edition of Currently. That's Corn Belt People, this Sunday at 1:30 in the afternoon on BBC Radio 4 and BBC Sounds. That's it from us. I'm Charlotte Smith. The producer is Beatrice Fenton, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.